Morning world, Hippy Trev here. So I've decided to start my R model Mack. Roll the intro.
Hi, Hippy Trev here and welcome to my channel. Hope you get something out of it.
Rightio world, so I've decided to start the R model. Okay, so I've started the R model Mack and I've just been doing the prep work. There's my destruction sheet there hanging up on the speakers, and I've just gone through. Gone through and started doing all my paintings, and as always with AMT, one item on this tree to be painted. That one has nothing. Only 2 items on that tree to be painted. Only a couple of items on that tree to be painted. Some engine parts there which I've painted. Painted up the engine. Gearbox. And a couple of other little bits and pieces. And another little piece hanging in there. So I'll just give you a stand back view. So with painting these models, every time I put some colour on, I've actually got to go and wash my brushes straight away. Then I've got to actually clean my hands, otherwise I end up with paint from the last job onto the next part I'm painting. With everything being so small and fragile, it's easy to get paint everywhere that you don't want it to be. So anyway, that's my little work table. So everything gets done right here in this work table. All the models I've built, all done there. There's the floor. There's the floor. So that's the box I'm about to start assembling. There's some more parts there, there's some more parts there, there's my paint box there, there's all my brushes on the floor. So the whole floor of the bus is literally awash with model parts, but that's the joy of doing it in the bus. And like I said, what I do is I just pin the instructions up on the speaker there, and that way I've got hands free. So I've just done, I've just done all the painting now. And I'm just going to let all that dry off before I start gluing a few things together. So first assembly is the engine, part 2's wheels and tyres, and then we get into the beloved frame rails. So anyway worlds, this is part 1 of building the R Series Mack. Now the model box says that truck's green. I haven't decided what colour to paint that truck, I don't know. I've already got 1 red truck, 2 red trucks, a dirty brown truck, my beautiful black Kenny, and my purple truck over the back there, and my blue, yeah, that one was the last one I did. Also got that brown one up there. So I haven't quite decided what colour to paint the cab yet. Frame rails will either be red or silver, I'm not really sure. So yeah, I just don't know what colour to paint the Mack. The Kenworth's going to be white. So there's the Kenworth model. That's the Kenworth model. So I don't have to paint the cab, but I've got all the decals on that. So I don't really want to do another white truck. So seeing this is part 1, and I'll be definitely a part 2 or 3 before I even get to painting the cab. So if anyone down in the description wants to leave any comments about what colour I could probably paint in the Mack. I don't have a lot of choices in the shed. Kimmy, she doesn't have a lot of choices at the hardware. I've got 2 red trucks, I don't want another red truck. Don't really need another purple truck. Off-brown would be yuck. Don't really need a black Mack. I've really only got colours like blue left, silver, red. Yellow, don't really want to do a yellow. Don't think I've ever seen a yellow Mack before. So if anyone wants to make a comment what colour might be an idea to paint the Mack other than green, black or red, and possibly even blue. I don't think I want a blue Mack either. So rightio world, so I'll get back to you when I've got maybe the engine together and a few more parts together, and see where we go from there. So rightio, later, bye. Rightio world, so it's been quite a few hours and we're back, and I've managed to get the motor pretty much assembled. I know my colours aren't right, but we all know I don't do my colours right. So that's the engine and gearbox or transmission pretty much assembled right now. So it's taken quite a few hours because I've learnt now, glue on a piece, let it sit for an hour or so before you start mucking around, because the more you try and handle these things, the more things start falling off. So like things like these oil filters here, they're not quite set right yet, so I've got to just keep moving around. Fan was the last thing I put on this motor, just because normally it gets knocked around a fair bit. So anyway, like I said, my colours aren't right, but I don't do colours the right way anyway. I like to change things up. So there we are. That has taken me quite a few hours today just to paint everything, wait for all the paint to dry, slowly assemble all the bits and pieces, and let each bit and piece glue, the glue settle and dry before going on to the next stage of putting the next part of the motor together. So even though it doesn't look like a real lot there was actually quite a few hours getting all that assembled. So anyway, part 2 of this model is, sorry, not part 2, but the next stage of this model, now the motor's done, is rightio. So the next thing on this model to do is wheels and tyres. I might get onto that a little bit shortly and see how we go. I'm going to join the rims together and then paint the rims and see how I go from there. So anyway, worlds, just pin that up here so I got that right. Rightio, worlds. So there we go. Like I said, motor is complete. I can put that to one side now, let all that cure and dry, and then go about the next stage, which is wheel assembly, and then probably be frame rails. And as I said before, yeah, the floor's an absolute mess. There's just bits and pieces of model absolutely everywhere, spread right through the floor of the bus. When you don't have a real workstation for building models and all you have is this tiny little desk here, things get spread out all over the floor, but that's just the way it is. Like I said, I still haven't decided which colour to paint the cab yet, so any comments down below would be appreciated. Rightio, I'll get back to you a bit later. Bye. Rightio, well, it's the next morning, but I did plot on a bit last night and got a bit more done. So I've done my frame rails in gold. I don't know why. I didn't want to do red, didn't want to do black, and I had no chrome paint there. I didn't have any chrome paint left, so I decided I'd done them in gold. And as always, my paint are not good colours, as in they're not the colours it's supposed to be. So yeah, the frame rails actually went together quite good. As you do with this model, you put your left braces in, let it sit. Sorry, so you put your left cross braces in, and then you just let it sit for a while. And then what I did with this time, normally I put my glue on and try and glue it together. So what I did this time is I put lacquer bands in a few spots, put it all together, put lacquer bands around everything, and then put glue in all my joints there. So basically, put the struts in, painted my frame rails both sides, then put the things like the air tanks in, stops in, and steering bits, more stops there. I put all them in first, and then glued this side rail on. Now, so had a bit of trouble just trying to work out how the rear end goes. AMT destructions are never very good, and it just wasn't very clear on how to put that together properly. I had so much trouble with this front cross member, this stupid little bar here. Just this funny little bar here. Probably took me a good 25-30 minutes to get secured properly, and had a bit of trouble just trying to mount the cross member properly and make it all nice and straight. And I didn't have too much problem getting the steering gear on. So that's where we are at that. And now I'm up to the next stage where I've got to start putting backing plates on, front wheels on, and then move on to the next stage. Still so much hand painting to do. That's the backing. That's the backing plates to go on today. I'll get onto them next. But I've just got still so much hand painting to do. So what I'm actually doing with this model, sorry. So what I'm actually doing with this model is I look at the next lot of instructions. AMT sends you on about 5 different trees like that. They send you on 5 different trees all over the place just to do one section at a time. Like that was a chassis section, and that involved about 6-7 different. That involved about 5 or 6 different trees. I'm just about to finish up this section here, which is basically get the wheels on. So what I do is I pin my instructions up to my speaker, I go through, I work out all the things I have to do, and then I put all the trees into the one box. So everything I need on the instruction sheet is in that one box, even though I might only need one item from each tree. I will hand paint it, wait for the paint to dry, and then go about gluing the model together. So even though that doesn't look like much right there, that was about, well, that took me most of yesterday just to get that painted, wait long enough for all the paint to dry, hand paint all the parts, and then finally assemble it last night. Yeah, that was a fair bit of work. So anyway, I've got more to do today. This section is, well, I'll finish this section off, which is get the wheels and the backing plates on, and then start on the rear suspension, which means firstly I've got to go through, find all the parts, then I've got to hand paint all the parts, then I've got to wait for all the hand painted parts to dry, and then I can slowly start putting things together. And sometimes what happens is you put a couple of parts on, you just have to wait for those parts to dry. Same as like this suspension wise, I had to put the springs on and let them dry for a good couple of hours before I could even put the cross member on, and let that dry for quite a while before I could put the shockies on, let that dry for a long time before I could even put the steering coupling on. So same as this, put on my mounts here, had to wait a long time for them to dry, and then put on the, that's where the rear axle pivots on. So a lot of time sitting around waiting for paint to dry and waiting for glue to dry. So anyway, worlds, it's early on the next day. It's actually quite chilly. It's a bit cold this morning. I'm starting to feel like we're heading into winter already, and I'm missing the warm summer nights, and I think I need to move further north. So anyway, worlds, I'll catch you a bit later. Bye. Right, worlds, I'm back. It's quite a few hours later, and as you can tell, I'm no longer in my winter woolies. It's warmed up a bit, but it's been a bit grey and rainy out there. So, radio, I've got the next part of everything I need to be painted, and this is what I'm talking about, going around through different trees. So that tree there, only one part. I'm putting all these into a separate box. So this is just the very next section. Brake parts, diffs. Went with black on the diffs. The suspension, I'm really happy with the way that my suspension turned out. I've still got a little bit of orange to go back sorry. I'm really happy with the way my suspension turned out. I've still got to go back and just final trim a little bit of orange where I've got a little bit of overpaint with a bit of the silver. But I'm really happy how the rear suspension turned out as far as paint wise. I think that looks pretty good. So I've just got to do a bit of a touch up there. A little bit more paint there on that one. See, I don't know what these do yet, so they're not painted because I don't know what they do. On this tree, just the one tail shaft, but that's actually the next section, and the rest of it's got nothing to do with this next build, but only one part there. Then I've got my two rear differential drives. And then on this tree, we've got some more suspension parts, so orange, red, and silver for the shockies, and some engine mounts. Sorry, oh yeah, they're actually engine mounts. So stabilizer bars for the rear diff, and I've got a couple of little brake cams I need to put on the front here. In behind these, I've been waiting for them to dry. So I've just finished doing all the painting. I've just finished doing all the painting. Actually, I've just got to repaint the back of these air brakes. I just want to paint maybe the cams black or a different color to the silver, just as a touch up. Like I said, I've just got a little bit of orange to touch up where I had a little bit of overpaint with the silver. Like I said, I'm really happy how that turned out for the rear suspension. So can't glue anything together for at least a good hour or so. I just got to let all this paint dry and cure properly, because the minute the glue hits the paint, if it's slightly damp, it just spreads and makes a mess absolutely everywhere. So I'm going to call this end of part one on my Mack R series. I still haven't decided what colour to paint the cab. I'm actually thinking of going yellow. What am I thinking? I'm just sick of all, well, I'm running out of colours. I said I've got a purple truck, don't need to do another purple. I've got two red trucks, don't need another red truck. I've got a black truck, don't think the black will look good Mack. The Mack would look good black, unless it was actually the convoy truck from the rubber duck. Sorry. I don't think the Mack will look that good black, unless it was the actual original rubber duck truck from the movie Convoy. That was a black truck, and that did actually look fantastic. It had the white bull bar, and so I don't think black's the go. And the only other thing I've got is that dirty brown on that Kenworth, on that Peterbilt just there, pulling the dozer, and that was just a mixture of a shitload of paint to make it look like I was working on a job site. So can't bring myself to work out what colour to paint the cab and bonnet at this stage. There's not a lot of selection of paint down the hardware as far as colours, and when it comes to spray cans, I'm certainly not very good at mixing. I haven't got airbrushing, not going to do airbrushing, not even want to learn how to airbrush. This is about the top of my skill level that I get, so we're going to leave it there at whatever. So yeah, look, give me a couple of ideas in comments if you really want to, and what you think. I don't want a white truck either. I don't want the Mack to be white. The Kenworth's going to be white. So like I said, and I don't want green. I've already got a green Mack, and that was one of the worst models ever built. Nothing lined up properly. That was a really shitty build. I think they've got that on a video going way back like a year or so ago. That was a very terrible build. I don't know if it was an AMT or a PMC build, but it was absolute shock, and nothing on that model lined up. It was just a disaster. Don't want to do another green Mack, even though the lid of the box says it's supposed to be green. So anyway, worlds, like I said, maybe a couple of comments. At this stage, the only colour that I haven't used on a truck is yellow. Maybe I could go two-tone, mask off, and look, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not sure, but I'm getting to the pointy end of the stick now where I really have to start thinking about it, because once all this is assembled and the motors and the frame, it really is down to cab, interior, and then start loading on all the chrome pieces after that. So anyway, well, this is the end of part 1. Hope you enjoyed it so far, and I'll catch you on part 2. Later, bye.